Your thumb is already moving towards your pocket before you've decided anything. That restless itch to check your phone, even when you don't want to, even when nothing's waiting there. You're standing at the crosswalk, phone in hand, glancing up and down, caught between the street and the screen, the light still red. Somewhere behind that flick of your eyes sits a question you don't usually stop to ask. Why does distraction pull so hard in your daily life? And what does that mean for what actually matters to you? By the end, you'll see that itch isn't weakness. It's a system built to make stillness feel unbearable. The pull of digital reward. What exactly are you reaching for in that half second before you even decide to look? Imagine you texted someone an hour ago. Nothing back. No buzz, no banner, no little red circle. And still, your thumb finds the button before your mind finds a reason. The screen lights up. Empty. You already knew it would be. You checked anyway. That's not curiosity. That's not hope either. Not really. Somewhere underneath the wanting, your brain already got its payment. And the payment wasn't the message. It was the reach. A slot machine doesn't wait for the cherries to line up before it hooks you. The hook is in the pull of the lever, the click, the spin, the half second of not knowing. Your phone runs on the same wiring. The unlocking motion, the glance down, the flick of your thumb across glass. That's the lever. What's on the other side is almost beside the point. Nir Eyal spent years studying exactly this, the behavior design that keeps you opening apps you don't even want to open. In one YouTube discussion on why we're so pulled toward distraction, he lays out the wiring plainly. It was never really about the message waiting on the other end. It's about the itch behind the reach, which means the checking happened before the choosing did. By the time some quiet part of you thought, maybe I should look, your hand was already moving. The decision showed up late, dressed up as a reason, when really, it was just narrating something your body had already done. Stand at a crosswalk sometime and watch yourself do it. Phone in your hand, eyes flicking from the street to the screen and back, waiting on a walk signal or a text that isn't coming. You'll feel the pull arrive before the thought does, every single time. So, if the wanting comes after the reaching, whose hand is actually on the wheel here? And if checking your phone was never really about what is on it, then what is it you're actually trying to get away from? Standing there at the curb, phone lit up in your palm? Escaping the weight of the moment. But watch what actually happens the next time you sit down to do something hard. Say it's an email. 1 line, 4 sentences, the kind that could end a friendship or save your job. You open the laptop. You put your fingers on the keys. And before you've typed a single word, a new tab is already open. You're reading about a volcano in Iceland. You don't care about the volcano. You didn't decide to care about the volcano. 3 seconds. That's all it took. Notice the timing, because the timing is the whole story. The urge didn't show up while you were making coffee or walking to the mailbox or standing at the crosswalk, glancing between the street and the screen in your hand. It showed up the exact second the email got uncomfortable, the second you had to choose a word that might hurt somebody. That's not boredom. That's a valve opening. Pressure builds, and before you even feel it as pressure, some quiet part of you has already found the release. Think about how fast that trade happens. Faster than thought. Faster than a decision you'd stand behind if someone asked you to explain it. You didn't weigh the volcano against the email and pick the volcano. Your hand moved first. The tab opened first. Whatever was rising in your chest got let out before it ever reached your mind as a feeling you could name. Which raises the real question. If the scroll isn't about the volcano at all, if it's never really about the thing on the screen, then what is it actually chasing? Because a valve doesn't release into nothing. It releases towards something that feels safer to want. Social approval as a silent pull. Picture this. You post the photo. Good light, good angle, the kind of shot that took 11 tries to look effortless. You set the phone face down for a second. You feel proud of yourself. Then you flip it back over. 1 like, then 4, then 12. Across the table, someone you actually chose to spend tonight with is talking. She's telling you about her sister's move to Denver. You nod. You say, but part of you is already gone. It's back on that little red number. It's watching the count climb, like it's telling you something true about your worth. That number is not nothing. Your brain treats it the way it treats a paycheck, a compliment, a hand on your shoulder. Same wiring, same quiet hit of dopamine. It doesn't matter if the source is someone who loves you or a stranger in Ohio who double-tapped without even reading the caption. The loop doesn't care where the approval comes from. It just wants the count to keep going up. So you check again, 17 now. She's still talking. Something about a lease, a moving truck, a date in March. You catch maybe half of it. Here's the part that should bother you more than it does. You feel seen by 43 strangers. And unseen by the one person actually in the room. The loop gave you a number. It didn't give you her. It didn't give you anyone. And the strange thing is, you'll do this again tomorrow. Maybe on a corner, phone lit up in your palm, while the walk signal counts down. The world keeps moving without you, which raises a question worth sitting with. If the pull is strong enough to beat a real conversation, what happens when it meets something with actual consequences? Something like traffic. The Crosswalk Experiment. That pull for a like, a comment, a heart on a photo, that's the mind chasing proof it matters to someone. But distraction doesn't stop at your attention. It reaches all the way down into your legs, your eyes, your feet on the pavement. Suppose you're at a crosswalk, phone lit in your hand, thumb still scrolling. The light hasn't changed yet, but you're already stepping off the curb. A researcher named Anay Sobhani built a virtual intersection to watch exactly this, strapping people into a headset instead of a real street corner. 42 people walked through it, some with a phone in hand, some without. The ones on their phones moved slower. They looked up less. They checked the street less often than they used to. Here's the part that should sit with you. You'd guess they'd say they felt just as safe as always. Nothing felt different. But something was different. The gap they used to leave themselves got smaller, and they didn't notice. The risk went up in the virtual asphalt, right there under their own feet, and the feeling of risk never got the memo. It stayed flat, comfortable, blind to the thing it was supposed to warn you about. That's the quiet trick of distraction. It doesn't just take your focus off the road. It takes your body's sense of danger and freezes it in place, so you keep walking like nothing's changed, even while everything has. And if your sense of safety can lie to you that easily, on something as plain as a crosswalk, you have to wonder what else it's been telling you is fine. Especially the thing you keep going back to for comfort, the one that never quite satisfies, no matter how much of it you take in. When enjoying becomes overdoing. Now, picture dinner. The show's on, the plate's warm in your lap, and somewhere between the opening scene and the first commercial break, the food's gone. Not finished. Gone. You try to remember tasting it, and you can't get past bite 3. Everything after that is just motion. Fork to mouth. Eyes on the screen. Mouth on autopilot. And here's the strange part. You get up for seconds anyway, not because you're hungry. Somewhere in there, your body sent the signal. Fullness came, quiet, and knocked once. But you were watching two people fall in love on a rooftop in Brooklyn, and the knock didn't land. So the meal kept going after the meal was already over. The eating had already stopped doing its job. And you didn't notice, because noticing was never the point of the last 20 minutes. There's research behind this, not just a feeling you're making up. The American Psychological Association has looked at what happens when people eat while distracted, and found the same pattern over and over. Attention splits, satisfaction drops, and the drop in satisfaction is what pushes people to keep eating past the point of full. You're not chasing hunger anymore. You're chasing a feeling of enough that never showed up because you weren't paying attention when it did. Consider the way you'd think about that crosswalk. Phone in hand, eyes flicking between the walk signal and the screen. You're never fully in either place. Not on the street, not in the show, not at the table. Some part of you is always somewhere else, and the part that's supposed to tell you enough is enough gets crowded out by the part that's just trying to keep up with the plot. The food didn't satisfy you less because it was bad. It satisfied you less because you weren't there for it, which makes you wonder, if a full stomach can slide right past you unheard, what else has been trying to get your attention lately and getting quieter every time you don't answer? The shrinking threshold for boredom. So when does enjoying something tip into needing it? Maybe it already has, and you wouldn't even notice the seam. You're standing in the checkout line at the grocery store, cart half full, and the phone is already out of your pocket before your brain even registers that you're waiting. Not after the wait starts, before. Your thumb finds the screen the way your tongue finds a chipped tooth. Automatic, before you've decided anything at all. At the crosswalk. It's the same story. Red light, 40 seconds, that's it. 40 seconds you stood through 1,000 times before. Watching cars, watching pigeons, watching nothing. Now it feels unbearable in a way it didn't used to. Your eyes drop to the screen, flick back up to check the light, drop again. Street, screen, screen, street. Researchers have actually clocked this drift in people who are supposed to be paying attention on purpose. A study in the journal Frontiers in Psychology watched students trying to focus on a single task and found that most of them broke away to check social media after somewhere around 6 minutes. 6 minutes, and the poll already wins. Here's the part worth sitting with. You used to be able to just stand there. No phone, no fidget, nothing. You'd stare at a crack in the sidewalk, and your mind would wander somewhere quiet. And that was fine. That was normal. Now standing there doing nothing feels like something is wrong, and the wrongness is new. You weren't born needing 40 seconds to be filled, or needing a break every 6 minutes. You built that need, one grocery line at a time, one red light at a time. Each small reach for the phone, teaching your mind that stillness is a problem to be solved instead of a place to rest. It doesn't feel like a decision when it happens. It never does. But something in you is quietly renegotiating how much silence you can survive. Which raises the harder question. If the threshold keeps shrinking without your permission, what would it actually take to grow it back? Facing distraction with intention. But understanding the pull was never going to make it vanish. Nobody reads about dopamine and wakes up immune to it. So here's the test. Tonight, leave the phone on the nightstand. Not off, not in a drawer, just there, screen dark. Then, walk into the other room without it. Count the seconds. Somewhere around 6, you'll feel it. Not quite a thought. More like your hand forgetting it isn't holding anything. There's a kind of held breath in your chest. It's the same feeling as waiting for a light to change at a crosswalk. Except there's no street, no traffic, just a quiet room and a body that expected to be doing something else by now. That feeling is the whole mechanism. Finally, out in the open. Every other time, it fired, and you were already reaching. Already scrolling. Before you even knew a choice had been made. This time, you just stand there. You let it happen to you on purpose. You watch the itch show up. You watch it peak. Then you watch it start to fade, slow, the way a held breath eventually lets itself go, whether you tell it to or not. Think about what actually changed in those seconds. Not the urge. The urge showed up right on schedule, same as always. What changed is that you were there when it did. Not the version of you that grabs the phone on reflex. The one standing a half step behind that reflex, watching it happen instead of being it. The pull doesn't leave. It just stops being the one driving, which raises the real question. If you're not the reach anymore, if you're the one noticing the reach instead, then who exactly has been running your evenings all this time? That itch to check your phone, it was never really about the phone. It's dopamine doing what dopamine does, and a mind looking for a side door out of something uncomfortable. That's the pull. Not weakness. Chemistry and escape working together. So no, you don't have to kill distraction. You can't, and you don't need to. You just have to notice it the second your thumb moves without asking permission. That small notice opens a crack, and matters can slip into that. Maybe tonight, before you reach for the phone, you just pause, see what's underneath, then decide. See what that does to how this one evening feels.